We are ready to begin. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Save a Wire Wire L+EARN Financial Education Program. What a week it has been. Let me know in the chat if you are here. Say hello in the chat. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us if you've had an opportunity to implement what you learned last week. It would be absolutely amazing to know that you guys, how you're feeling today after an exciting week. I know last week was so informative. We left with such great nuggets and such great pearls of wisdom that were shared last week. I do know that we have a couple of first timers today, so welcome. If it is your first time, just say hello. Tell us it's your first time. I see Dina is saying hello, first time today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's going to be an absolutely amazing afternoon. And so I just want to thank everybody again. Thank you. Muhammad is there. Fezi is saying hello, joining in for the first time, missed last week. Hello, first time, Moipone. So lots of first timers. So those of you who are first timers, don't stress. This webinar is being designed in such a way that every week's content is absolutely valuable. And so you won't feel as though you've missed out anything, but you'll be able to pick up and implement what you get today. And then please do join for the rest of the program. So join every week at the same time. It's going to be really, really great. And you're going to see this is going to just take your financial life to the next level. And so we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to share my screen and then we're going to get started straight away. Let me just get my screen to play over here. Can you all see my screen and can you all see me? Homoto, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see me on the screen? Okay, great stuff. Awesome stuff. Okay, so this is the name of the program, guys, especially for those of you who are joining for the first time. It's called Save a Wire Wire L+EARN Financial Education Program. And it's a special program designed for young adults, you know, especially because of the phase or the stage that most of you find yourselves in right now, where you're going to start making big financial decisions. That is why this program is designed and who it's for. It's brought to you by the ASISA Foundation. And last week we touched a little bit on who the ASISA Foundation is. My name is Darren August. I'll be your host for the webinar today and for the rest of this program. And I'm not alone. It's my privilege to welcome back our financial expert, first of all, who was with us last week. That is Khomotso. Everybody say hi, Khomotso. Give us some snaps. And she's just going to wave there. Wasn't she absolutely brilliant last week? So brilliant that we had to get her back here today again, just to continue building on what she's already introduced us to last week. And then we also have a special guest, Zanele Motau, who is going to be joining us a little bit later on in the webinar. Zanele, give us a wave and just say hi there. We're going to interview you in a little bit of a while. Zanele is like makeup on flick, hair on flick, outfit on flick. She is so prepared for today. It's such a coincidence that all of us are wearing blue today, so I'm sure it means we are for an absolutely great time. Quickly, just to recap. So today we're going to be talking about budgeting. That's going to be the theme of today's webinar. As always, the couple of rules. There is no such thing as a silly question, so please feel free to ask your question, but do be respectful as well. So let's all respect each other. Let's all respect our time. Let's respect this platform. And then please follow the process. When we do put up something, or if you do need to chat or you have any issues, type it in the chat. Remember, I've got a whole team working with me. Today we have Crystal on technical support. So Crystal will be putting up polls and helping with any technical issues. And we have Teliwe managing the chat box. So if there are any questions, if you have any issues, just type it in the chat box and Teliwe will get to it. She might respond to you privately or she'll put it up in the group for everybody if it is relevant. All right. Questions and answers, send them through and we hope to get through to all of them. I know that Khomotso has prepared to answer some of the questions we didn't get to last week, and so we will do our best and then continue to send it through. We'll aim to get to all of your questions. All right. So we're going to start off with a poll today. As I mentioned, today we're talking a little bit about budgeting. So Crystal is going to put up the poll and I want you to vote for the answer that you feel is the one that you agree with the most. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just to allow Crystal to put up the poll, and we're going to get everybody to vote for a moment. Crystal, you can put up the poll. All right, so there is a poll up on the screen, and we have, how many questions do we have? We've got about 7 questions, all right? So please make sure that you scroll all the way to the bottom before it allows you to click submit. So you're going to quickly answer the 7 questions, answer with the one that you agree with most or that is most relevant to you. Would you rather spend money left over at the end of the month to spoil yourself? Would you rather put it away for a rainy day, or would you rather pay off your debt? Choose one of those answers before you move on to the next one. I see so many of you sent messages saying you're so excited for today. Lebo Hang saying excited for today. Keenan Oliver saying good afternoon, excited for this session. Manda saying hi. Lebo Hang is excited to be back again. Thank you so much. Isabel, that's so sweet of you, welcoming all the other first timers. Beautiful, beautiful. Muhammad's here for a second time. Love it, absolutely love it. It's so great when you guys engage in the content and engage with us throughout the time. That's really great. Okay, so is the poll still up? Yes, I think the poll is still up. Can you guys see the poll? The poll just timed out for a bit. If we can just put it back up, please, Crystal. All right, the poll is back up. If you could cast your votes quickly. Remember, there are 7 questions. So just scroll down to the bottom. It seems like it times out, so quickly answer. So try and answer quickly. Try and beat the clock. If there is an issue, we might have to come back to it a little bit later. I'm going to give it 1 more minute, and then we'll end the poll, and I'll continue with the content. For the moment, it's still up. Apologies to those who experienced it disappearing or timing out. It seems fine now. Remember, there are 7 questions, and you want to answer all 7 before it allows you to submit. Great, Andrew's done. Looks like we have a beautiful crowd here today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's so amazing that you guys, we don't take it for granted that you've given up your Friday afternoon to spend with us, but we do know that this is going to be absolutely empowering for you. And that's the reason why we're just so passionate about bringing you this information today. Right, 30 seconds more, and then we're taking the poll down, and it looks like it's all done. All right. Did everybody vote? All right, so it looks like the poll is closed and everybody has voted. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for participating in that poll. We are going to continue right away with all of the content. All right, so let's continue and get my screen up here again. 1 second, I just want to remove everything so that I can see all clearly, well, so that you can see me clearly. All right, can you all see my screen? Great stuff, let's continue. All right, so when it comes to budgeting, as I mentioned, the theme of today's webinar is budgeting. Very important to realize that the first step in budgeting is understanding needs and wants, all right? So our needs and our wants differ based on our circumstances. Depending on your lifestyle, depending on your priorities, depending on your income, all of those things affect whether or not something is a need or a want to use. So it's very important to realize that. For example, during COVID-19, data was not as big as a want as what it was before. It was more of a need. Normally you would be on campus and you've got free Wi-Fi, you've got access to internet, and so you don't need to budget for that because you know you've got access to it. But during COVID-19, when most of you were at home, you had to budget for your own data. And so needs and wants change depending on the circumstances as well. Very important to realize that. Then also depending on your life stage, your needs and your wants will differ. Somebody who has a child will have different needs and wants compared to somebody who doesn't have a child. Somebody who's about to get married will have different priorities and different needs and wants. Somebody who needs to provide for a family will have different needs and wants. And so as your priorities change, your needs and your wants differ as well. Our basic needs are obviously things like shelter and food, you know, all of the necessities. Some of those are the same for all of us, but for most of us, some of the wants are very different, and even some of the needs. All right, so we need to adjust and cut down our budgets so that we're always guided by our needs and our wants. Very important. You have to be guided by that. Also, you want to always prioritize your needs first. And then if there is an additional amount, then you can start focusing on your wants. But it's very important to budget for. Am I in? Am I fine there? Can somebody just show me? Let me see. Am I fine? Can you guys all see me? Looks fine. Looks fine. Let's continue. All right, so here are some examples of needs and wants. All right, so needs, for instance, would be things like education. It's important to budget for education. And when it comes to budget, very important to always budget before you receive the income. All right, very important. You want to include all sources of income. So some of us get a stipend, or some of us get an allowance, and you think, okay, I just need to budget for that. But it's important to realize that you need to budget with all sources of income. That side hustle that you've got, that extra money that you're making, selling something on the side, all of that is income. And so you want to take all of that into account when you are doing your budget. Budget for your needs first, then your wants, and then fixed expenses are constant and variable expenses are adjusted. All right, so very important. Some of your budget items won't change, but some of them do change. I mentioned earlier on how you may not always have to budget for data because you are able to get that at university or college. But in a time where you don't have access to that, you need to include that in your budget. So make sure that you know what is a fixed expense, know what is a variable expense. All right, examples of fixed expenses would be things like your rent, your car payment, your insurance payments. Those are all fixed. Variable would be things like airtime, because maybe you got a new girlfriend and so you need to call her a couple more times this month and you need to budget accordingly for that. All right, so very important that you are able to differentiate between the two. Include savings in your budget. That's very important, especially saving for an emergency and saving for your goals. And then if you need to adjust, cut down on wants first. Try to always prioritize your needs. Try to make sure that you've always catered for your needs so that you are able to meet those first and then focus on your wants. All right, emergencies that can affect your budget. Things happen, guys. You could budget and you could budget to the T, and then what happens is an unexpected guest arrives and stays for a while, and this results in your food bill increasing, or the fridge breaks down and you need to repair that, or there's been a petrol price increase that happens and you didn't plan for that. So very important that you are able to budget for emergencies and that you save money for emergencies as well. All right, very, very important that you do that. There is a great budgeting tool that we have designed, that the ASISA Foundation has designed for you. And so on the screen right now, there are links to the ASISA website, as well as the L+EARN program website. And so if you go to these, and I think maybe if one of the team members can type it in the chat as well, and at the end we'll put it up again, but please go through to the website and download these tools. It is absolutely amazing. I presented this program about 3 years ago to some students like yourselves, and I still get messages now from people asking me, can I tweak this? Can I tweak this? This budget is working absolutely amazing. So it's a beautiful tool. It's a great tool. But you can also use pen and paper, all right? So use pen and paper and write down all of your budget items so that you don't just use your head. It can't just be in your head. That's not good enough. But we've given you some great budgeting templates on the links provided on the slide, and we'll put it up in the chat a little later on as well. So some of the budgeting challenges that young adults experience is things like you're moving out of home, and so you're having to adjust to paying rent. You know, all the time you've been dependent on your parents, and now all of a sudden you need to fend for yourself. That's a challenge that some young people experience, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Coping with repayments. Some of you are in the phase now where you are thinking about buying your first car, you're opening clothing accounts, you are starting to engage with financial institutions, and those affect your budget as well. Then inconsistent income is a great one that also affects young people, and it's one of the challenges that young people experience is you don't know when you're going to be paid, you don't know how much you're going to be paid, and so you're not always able to budget accurately. And so today, hopefully, we're going to be able to give you some solutions on how you can navigate that process. And then, how do I get my money to last me till the end of the month? That is one that you will probably go through. Even I still experience that, where you have so much month at the end of your money. And so the purpose of today's webinar is to help you get through that and overcome that challenge so that you're able to budget more accurately and you can relieve some of the pressure and some of the stress. Remember last week we spoke about how the financial pressure, when you have to pay all of those accounts and all of those bills, how it can really affect your mental health. And so the aim of today is to really help you become and feel more empowered. All right. Know that communicating about money is not easy. All right. We know that some people feel like passive about it. Some people are assertive and some people are aggressive. So passive is people that are like, okay, yeah, you just go along with it. Que sera, sera. You just float along and you just go with wherever the wind blows. It's not good enough. Not when it comes to your financial life. It's very important that you start mastering the skill of being able to communicate about money. Also, you don't want to be aggressive about it, because then what happens is you are going to you'll cut out people, and people won't feel people won't feel like they can engage with you as far as money is concerned. And so you want to be able to communicate assertively, where you are able to say no, especially when you've got all of these people asking you for money. I don't know how many of you have a situation where the day your allowance comes in, or your stipend comes in, or your salary comes in, you've got everybody SMSing you to borrow money. And so you can't be aggressive in that situation. You want to be assertive and still manage your money well. So very important. When it comes to communicating with money, about money, you are going to communicate with your family, first of all. And we're going to hear about that a little bit later on in today's webinar. Then communicating with creditors is also communicating about money. For instance, when you're not able to meet those monthly repayments, how do you let those creditors know so that you don't get blacklisted or you don't get listed on ITC? And then obviously you need to be able to communicate with financial institutions as well. As I mentioned earlier on, you are now at the point where you are engaging with banks and you're getting loans and you are going to be paying interest. How do you negotiate your interest rate? So it's very important that you feel comfortable chatting and speaking and communicating about money. All right, so I'm going to stop talking for a while and I'm going to invite our first guest on the show, on the webinar, and her name is Zanele Motau. Zanele is the manager at Eat Them Green Trading, and she's also the chairperson of YARD, which is Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development. Zanele is a young person within the space of agriculture, specializing in the field of agro-processing, and I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit about what that is, because I don't know. She studied at the Tshwane University of Technology, and she completed her practicals and then was assisted by her family through savings to purchase land to start the farming business in Winterveld near Mabopane. Zanele is in the agro-processing business, and the business supplies food packs to local shops, schools, and restaurants. And in 2017-2018, Zanele was part of the ASISA Foundation Financial Literacy Program, FLAME, which is for micro enterprises, and that provides financial literacy to small business owners and business people. Zanele, it's an absolute privilege to have you on the webinar today. Welcome. Please just tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. I believe you have said a mouthful introducing me. I don't know where to start. All I can say is that Zanele is a young person within the space of agriculture. When I see the soil speaks to me. I'm a farmer, but currently I'm involved in the agro-processing part. Agro-processing, it's more of adding value to a product. I can make an example. Maybe if you plant peaches, out of the peaches you can do jam out of it. Another example would be when you are a dairy farmer, out of the milk you can do cheese, you can do yogurt. That is more of agro-processing. It's adding value to the product. I'm involved in the dry crops, which is your split peas, your sugar beans, your lentils, and stuff. So thank you very much. I can say that I'm a bubbly person. I enjoy smiling, and yeah, I was involved in the ASISA program, the program for 2017-18, and then it did great to my business. It added value to my business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's get into your story a little bit. So I know that in you sharing your story, you mentioned that how your mom's example in budgeting inspired you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Growing up, my mom was the only person working at our place. At my family, I can put it that way. She was transparent with her finances. I don't remember well how much she earned, but then she would put her pay slip and she put us down and show us that, you know what, dad is not anymore working. I'm the only one who's working. So this is my pay slip. This is how much I earn. And then out of this pay slip, I'm going to pay 1, 2, 3. After paying 1, 2, 3, this is how much I'll be saving. And then this is how much I'll be giving you guys. So her transparency really inspired me, and it's something that I told myself that I want to carry it out to my kids also, because of we didn't want things that we know that my mother doesn't afford, because of already we knew how much she earns. Darren,
I
are
don't
you
know if it's
still with me?
your signal, but I think yes, I got you. The next question is, so after finishing school, what was your first ever income, and did you budget with this from the word go?
My first income after finishing school was 3,000 rand, and yes, I did budget about it. Hence, when you did your introduction, I heard you mentioning that you shouldn't budget while you have the money with you. Before earning the money, you should budget. So I knew how much I was going to earn. And then out of that earning, I started to draw the budget before I earned the money.
Did you did you hear that? Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Great stuff. So when
Are
you
you
started,
losing me or something?
it keeps coming and going, but we're doing fine. Don't stress about it. So when you
Okay,
started
thank
your
you.
business, did you need some money to get the business off the ground, and how did you raise the money?
Okay, I needed money to start my business. Through the savings that I saved when I was working, it pushed me with the capital that I needed. And also, by the grace of God, my family got involved to give me a startup when I started the business.
Beautiful, beautiful. So in life, there's various emergencies that affects your budget. How do things such as late payment from customers affect your budget, and how have you learned to make provision for this challenge? Because I know in business, obviously, there's things like customers pay you late. So how do you navigate that situation?
Okay, I navigated in a way that I do not. Okay, with our business, we have a saving pocket within the business. So that saving pocket, we use it in terms of emergency. For example, we supply schools. Also, our company, Eat Them Green, supplies schools. And then it happens that sometimes the schools wouldn't pay us in time. Maybe they would pay after 3 months. And now you cannot say children can't eat because of you guys haven't paid. But we managed in a way that we created a savings account within our account, whereby in case we have an emergency, we can take out of that savings account, and then we would use it up to carry on the business, because of if we do not chow all of the money. And I can say that through the program of the ASISA Foundation, I have learned that saving is important, and we should have a salary, and we should not, the money that comes in the business, it doesn't mean that is our salary. So we have a salary, and then if your salary is finished, then it's finished. Then you'll have to wait for the next month, because of, we know that something, especially like this year, in terms of COVID-19, we could run the business with our savings, because of there was no money coming in. But then with the past 4 months, we were able to run our business with the savings that we had from the previous year.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yonela, I see your question. We're going to get to it a little bit later on. But I think you've already touched on communicating about money within your family. But how easy or difficult is it to communicate on money matters within your families, Zanele?
You know, Darren, I can say that when you're a young person and you're in business, one will think that you are a millionaire and you are not. Okay, I'm not yet. So they would think that you, like, if they need money, you just have to open your purse and then give them money because of you are a business person. But then it doesn't work that way. You know, when you are in business, you need to have boundaries. I can have the money, I can see it hanging there in my account, but then I know that that money is not just to be spent. So, you know, especially with my dad, I have to just tell him, you know, Baba, I le yokusebenza and not manje. So I believe that being transparent, and now they get to know you, they get to know that one. In my language, they call you ngame. They will say, but then that's how it is. The money is there, but then it's not for just to be spent. So I try by all means to tell them, no. But though it's sometimes hard, you know, when somebody will say, Zanele, this, and then how come you don't have money? But then you know that you have money. Yeah. But I believe being transparent also helps.
Beautiful. Zanele, before we let you go, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Give us some tips, some budgeting tips for young people on the webinar tonight, this afternoon.
Okay, I can say that you need to, for you to budget, you need to be trusted with small amount. You cannot budget while you have a lot of amount. Like, for example, if you have 10 rand, you can put 1 rand aside and budget it. You don't have to have 10,000 before you can budget. The little amount that you have, you can use it wisely and budget out of it. And when you budget, you become in a right track. You don't, like, for example, you can going to a mall, you see something that you like, but then if your folk, you know which track you are in, you wouldn't just go into a shop and buy it. But if you draw your budget, you know, no, this is not for me. It will be for me next time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Zanele, for sharing your journey and your story, and then also for some of the real inspirational wisdom that you've left with the attendees on the webinar today. I think we've learned so much from your story. What I'm taking away is the fact that how you say there is money, but it's not for that, and you need to feel comfortable enough to tell people that the money that I've got is already been allocated, and you can only do that if you budget correctly. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Don't go completely. We'll get you to say bye-bye at the end, but thank you. We're going to move on for now.
Okay.
All right. So that was absolutely beautiful and so inspirational to see a young person in business doing so well. And I think that was just such a lot of great advice that Zanele gave us over there. Let's move on to our expert. And so it's my privilege now to welcome back again Khomotso Masongwa. Yeah, Masongwa. Khomotso is a registered financial practitioner and a member of the FPI, which is the Financial Planning Institute. She has 19 years experience in the insurance industry. She's also the founder of a 100% female-owned independent insurance brokerage company. Thank you so much for being with us, Khomotso. Welcome back.
Thanks, Darren. I'm excited to be back again.
Right, I'm going to just put you up on screen and stop sharing mine quickly so we can all see you loud and clear. Oh, look how lovely you're looking. Makeup on flick as well. Okay, so Khomoto, I think there was so much to take away from Zanele's story and Zanele's journey. And I think one of the first things that I picked up was just how her mom was an inspiration and example. Despite being the sole breadwinner, she was budgeting diligently and putting away some savings every month. How can this principle of allocating some money for savings in our budget benefit young people? And how do you do it when you think you are stretched and your income is not enough?
Thanks, Darren, for that. You know, this is just true testimony that you don't have to earn 100,000 a month to be able to have a savings, you know. Through budgeting, firstly, you are able to account for each and every penny that comes out of your bank account, but also you are able to allocate some monies towards savings. If you recall in the previous webinar, I did mention that when budgeting, please do not budget on your total net amount. Now, if I can give a quick example, I earn 10,000 Rand, my deductions, be it pay as you earn, UIF, and others, my take home pay or my net salary is 7,500. I must not budget on 7,500. Life happens. COVID-19 happened. So what happens from that 7,500? Have about 10% towards your savings. Yes, use, let's say, about 5,500 Rand towards your living expenses, be it the needs and the wants, but then have that extra 500 Rand or 600 Rand laying in your account just so that if something happens, you are able to cover it without a problem. Now, let's go to the part of if you are stretching your money now. Okay, this is when we need to review our wants. You explained nicely earlier in your slides, Darren, the differences between our variable expenses and fixed expenses, all right? Mm-hmm. Fixed expenses being rent, you know, I have to pay 1,000 Rand every month, I can't get away from it. But variable expenses like groceries, I can actually do without buying extra cheese this month. So instead of budgeting 200 Rand, let me budget 150 Rand. Another example he gave of a guy having a new girlfriend. Now they need to make calls more often, but now he needs to be wise in how he makes them. He must call off peak, for instance, you know, and he must time himself. He must call for 2 minutes less than the other times he's calling so that he's able to save that extra 2 Rand. It goes a long way. And just one last thing that we normally undermine, our hobbies. Darren, we've got hobbies that we do with passion. And you know, usually where easy money flows in is when you do something that you love. You do it so effortlessly. And by so doing and sharing it with other people, you're actually able to earn yourself an income. So people must actually think about doing that.
Very interesting. Thank you. I'm gonna take Anessa's question. And I feel like it's one that young people often, it will resonate with so many young people on the webinar today. It says, I know one of the reasons for budgeting is not to overspend. But say I go to the mall and I find an item I was budgeting on to purchase in the following month, but now it's on promotion. Would I not be saving if I overspend in the current month to save a few bucks instead of paying extra for the item the following month for the full price, like Black Friday?
No, Darren, no. The reason why we're budgeting, the reason why we're writing where this money it needs to go, we're allocating it, is we need to be disciplined, strict about it so that we're able to survive to the following month. What if you do buy that item and then life happens in the middle of the month and you actually now need it more than anything, that money that you had used it for? Another thing is when you're budgeting for an item and in the interim, you are able to realize that actually, I don't need, let's say, that pair of jeans anymore. I can do actually with what I have for the next 6 months. Why not cancel it? Then take that money and either pay off the rest of the debts that you may have or put more of it towards savings. Nothing wrong with that. Black Friday, a spook one. People lose their minds, their sense of reasoning when it comes to Black Friday. Darren, go and check the prices on the website that they call their cheap, less 50%. The price that you're seeing today and the one that's on the website for Black Friday, it's less by 0.001%, some of them. You know, you really need to do a lot of research before going shopping.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to ask another question that's come through from one of the attendees, and I know that you were going to touch on it a little bit later on, but let me get to it now quickly. How does one become transparent in a family setting where literally no one speaks about money? Money is like a taboo, if I could put it like that. That's from Yonela.
Yeah, what I love about Zanele's story, which I think is very unique in African cultures, families, is that her mom was transparent from day one about her finances. I mean, even with myself, I didn't know anything about what happened with my mom's income and my dad's income and all of that. All I saw when I was growing up is that when we buy food, you go to Woolworths and buy with a Woolworths account food. You know, when you buy clothes, you go to Edgar's and swipe as Edgar's account. So it's a very sensitive subject that can actually cause a lot of tension within the household. So what I would suggest you would do, firstly, be open and honest with yourself, Darren. You need to make sure that you know yourself, where you stand with your finances.
Mm-hmm.
So secondly, if you say you're helping your house with, let's say, 500 a month in the budget, stick to it. Don't this month buy 500 groceries. Next month you buy 700 Rand, because then at the end of the day, you are getting yourself into more trouble. Another thing is, speak to someone who is very close to you, who understands you. For instance, if at home I'm very close with my sister, I'm going to start with my sister, explain and show her the reasons. Thereafter, when I come to the difficult part of the household, let's say, be it my mom or dad, I will then have my sister as my support structure. We first talk about it and say, you know what, Mom, this is where I'm standing. And as I'm talking to Mom, my sister is here also adding on. It becomes a bit of a smoother transition. Unlike I just go to my mom and say, you know what, I don't have any more money. And it becomes a fight instead of something that we can actually all work together. So if at home you do not have someone within the household that you're close to, that you're able to speak to, call your aunt, that whoever the family member is that you are close to, but it must be the one that your family members are also open to listening to as well. You need that support structure, because once you have that emotional support, it will be able to help you in the backing when you now discuss finances.
Beautiful, beautiful. So one of the challenges that Zanele constantly has as a business person is that customers who pay late. In the other youth's lives, it may not be customers, but they may experience delays in payments, like, for instance, their stipend, for example. How does one work around such challenges where income is not consistent or where there are delays in when you receive your income?
Darren, here, if let's say, for instance, you get paid by the 3rd of the month, all right, debit orders, try to get them to come off in 2 days' time. I mean, I used to fall trap into this because I would have, let's say, my debit orders on the 1st of the month, and I would then, well, when I get paid on the 1st of the month, I would say my debit orders will come off on the 2nd. But what would happen if the payday falls on a holiday or on a Sunday over a weekend? Darren, it's not every employer that is so nice to pay you the day before on the working business day. Some of them, they pay you on the day after the holiday or the weekend. And it's something that you cannot control. So what happens? The debit order bounces, and we're talking serious charges, unnecessary expenses you didn't budget for. So try to have your debit orders 2 days after you receive your income. But if it happens that you've got variable income, in my industry, our earnings happens in certain days, depending on the payments of the insurances and all of that. So what you need to do is you need to speak to your creditors upfront. Some of them are so willing to even give you a pay period between 30 to 60 days without even charging you penalty interest, Darren. That can also save you. The thing is, if you are upfront, you're honest, and you stick to the arrangement that you make with your creditor, you can go a long way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So how does tracking of your spending help in the budgeting process, like constantly monitoring your usage? Should you keep till slips then? Should you keep everything? Should you have an app? Should you write it down? Must you check your bank statements? How do you track it, and why is that important?
Firstly, let's talk about payslips. I recall before, I hardly used to look at my payslip. I would pay and walk away. But I don't know what actually prompted me to look at my payslip as I was paying for the items, and I would recall some of the prices like I would see them. I noticed that some items, what happens is some shops, they may have a special ending today, or there might be a price increase scheduled for the first of the following month. But human error, it's effective immediately. Now you're paying an extra 20 Rand, which you shouldn't pay for. So by looking at your pay slip as you're at the till, it will save you quite a lot of money. That's the first thing. Another thing is when you're looking at your budget, you need to work in conjunction with your bank statement, because it can happen that, let's say you need money for transport in like hard cash, and then you're buying of groceries, clothing, and other things, you swipe your ATM card. Don't go and withdraw money from your account every third day of the week, or every third day. Darren, that can incur you a lot of money. Some bank account, type of bank accounts, they give you a package and say, for the first 5 transactions of withdrawals, they are free of charge. Any other transactions thereafter, they are charging you a fee. And because this is not part of the package, that fee can be much higher than if you had actually planned for it. So if, for instance, every week I use public transport, for instance, I use taxis, I use a train, I need hard cash in my wallet. So I will withdraw for the week, for instance, all right? And then the extra change that is left over, I'll leave it at home. Remember, you need to be disciplined. You can't now have that money in your purse and then see a code that they say it used to be 14.99, it's now 9.99. That's the 9.99 you did not budget for. So you leave that money at home, you then go and spend, use your transport. The following day, you only take what's enough. Darren, you'll be amazed as to how much money you get to save. And another thing we need to also, when we budget, take into account things like the stokvel you may be a part of, or any other expenses you need to pay from your pocket, which may not really be formal. Be it that you owe somebody, be it that you are doing a lay-by or anything like that. Everything needs to be accounted for in your budget.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Let us know how you're feeling about the content that Khomotse is sharing today. Let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear. I think the final question is, so when communicating in the financial world, we know there are obviously the financial world involves our families, but it also involves creditors. It also involves banks and investors and all of those things. Why is it important for young people to have this proactive, open communication and communicate their needs, their circumstances, and ask for clarity when necessary? Why is that important, Khomotse?
Darren, let's start off with a credit agreement, all right? A credit agreement is if I buy, let's say, furniture on finance. I need to understand how it works. I need to understand the interest and how long I'll pay it for. I need to understand any other types of insurances within it. You know, a lot of times it happens that the geyser or the fridge I may have bought, it breaks, but then because I'm not aware, do you have insurance within the agreement, I go and use my money to pay for it, whereby you could have claimed for it, you know? Another thing is if the interest, if you take much longer to pay the debt, you can actually be paying much more than that you needed to. So if you did understand the agreement, you would be able to see how you can be able to quickly pay off your debts. If I can give just one tip here, with your debts, for the kind of quickest way that you can pay off your debts, pay the one with the highest interest first. You'll be amazed how you are able to cut off your debt quickly, because sometimes what we do, logic says, I owe Edgar's 1,000 and I owe my credit card 10,000. So let me push the 1,000 Rand Edgar's and then the credit card will come thereafter. But not realizing that the credit card interest is 1,200 per month.
Sure.
Edgar's interest is 12 Rand per month. So which one do you pay off first? So you need to be able to do that. That's on the credit side. In the part of like policies, for instance, during the period of COVID-19, if you were a good creditor, a good paying citizen towards your debts, a lot of companies made arrangements. They did what we call a premium holiday. So what they said, you know what, for the next 3 to 4 months, because you've been paying me so consistently and so well, you don't actually need to pay me. I will not even charge you extra income. So I'll basically freeze your account. And then in 4 months' time, I'll start charging you the normal installment that you needed to pay. Now, it actually pays you as well to be that creditor that not only communicates with your, to be that debtor that communicates with your creditor, but also to be able to be open and honest.
Yeah.
Let's go to the part of the financial planner or even the banker. If you have an account, let's say a check account, and you're constantly speaking to one relationship manager, for instance, you tell them your dreams, your goals. If something happens with it that affects you financially, when you discuss it with them, they always draw you back to the goals that you have set and say, you know what, Darren, this is what your goal was, but because COVID has happened, this is how we can tweak around it. This is a journey, Darren. It's not something that happens now and then. Money is something that we're living with. It's in our lives, it's around our lives. We need it, as they say, money makes the world go round, or you can go around the world without money.
So I want to squeeze in a couple of questions before we let you go. So let's turn this into a Dear Sis Dolly show for a moment. Andrew's question is one of those. So Andrew's question is, let's say I have a girlfriend that I love dearly and I make her aware of budgeting, but she seems indifferent towards the subject on several occasions. How do I act next time?
No, you know what? By being open and honest, she should actually be grateful. Because how you'll be treating her, she will be much more happier. Remember, financial stress has a lot of effects. Even if you are to, let's say, overspend and give her whatever it is that she wants, let's say fancy lunch, that's a bag that is very expensive, you give it to her with a broken heart. She'll gladly receive it and accept it and be excited, but you'll call her after 5 days. Because you needed to recover from that pain. I mean, your relationship already, it will start affecting you. So you'll need to speak to her. And then if she doesn't really work with you, just say, you know what, it's something that you need. It's very important in your life. It affects you emotionally as well. If she's not really looking to work with you, then you say, you know what, maybe we need a break for you to relook into this. Or ask her to go and Google, ask her to go research, to ask a banker or ask somebody that is close to you and ask her, what happens if a person has financial stress?
Yeah.
Wherein people commit suicide, marriages are broken, homes are wrecked, merely because of finances.
Some beautiful shout outs coming through. Yeah, I want to quickly share some of them. So Yonela said that's such a smart way to do it, talking about where you mentioned paying the account off with the biggest interest first. So she says that was a very smart way of doing it. DK Tseng says, I thought buying on special was saving, even if I did not budget for it, but I now know that discipline will go a long way. Thanks, Khomotso. Somebody else here says, how can one tackle black tax as a young adult who just started working?
We covered this as well last week, Darren. Firstly, let's go back to Zanele's story. What I love about Zanele's mom savings is that now with Zanele working out her budget as well, Zanele's mom is not going to be on Zanele's budget. Did you realize that? Yeah. So Zanele's black tax has actually been cut off on her generation. It was brilliant for her mom to do that. So as a young person right now, yes, go ahead and help at home. Let's say you are budgeting 500 Rand per month. Stick to it. Speak to your family. And the important thing is when you have said, I can only spend 500 Rand, and 2 weeks in the month, they call you, we need milk and, sishebo, because now we had family, friends visiting over. Sorry, but you know what? I only have 200 Rand to last me for transport for the next 2 weeks until I get paid. Bye-bye. Put the phone down and just, I don't know, watch a movie or take a walk so that you don't overthink this. Darren, if you do not become strict with them, that phone call will come in every week. Whenever there's friends, they will entertain them without having limits. Why? Because when I call Darren again, I know he'll throw in more money. So do that. Communicate with your family and stick to it. Educate them. It will go a long way. But for yourself, please start saving so that you don't become a black tax in your children's budget.
Beautiful. Khomotso, I could spend all day talking to you. This is such valuable information, and I can see from the comments that so many of our attendees today are learning so much from the information you share. So thank you so much. We're going to move on, but please stick around. So if we've got some time at the end, we might ask 1 or 2 more questions. But for now, thank you so much. I think this was absolutely valuable.
Thanks, Darren.
So guys, remember, please stay until the end because there are gifts and special prizes for you if you do stay until the end. We're nearly done. That was absolutely amazing, don't you think so? I think Khomotso gave such great tips to help you and that you can implement right away in your financial life. All right, time for us to do another poll. And so before we do that, I want to remind you, there is a website, l+earn.org.za. If you go to that website, you'll be able to get all of the presentations, all of the information that is shared on the webinar, as well as if you look in the chat box right now, you will see a direct link to the budgeting tool. And I really want to encourage you to try and download that tool and use it. It's going to absolutely make your budgeting so much simpler. All right, so remember to connect with us on the social media platforms, which is the ASISA Foundation L+EARN, that's on Facebook. Then we are on 3 radio stations. This program is happening there as well. But for now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm quickly going to ask Crystal to put up the last poll. Guys, that's the website, l+earn.org.za. Is the website where you can get all of this information, as well as www.asisafoundation.org.za. Let's go to the poll quickly and get you to vote and answer the questions that you believe are the most, or answer the question. Yeah, you choose the answer that is most relevant for you. Put it up for us, Crystal. Okay, so 7 questions again. Not 7. Okay, the new one is up. 8 questions, all right? So there are 8 questions, guys. Remember to scroll all the way down to the bottom. It will allow you to submit once you've answered all 8 questions. While you're doing that, I'm going to just read out a couple of messages that have come through on the chat, and then I'll be quiet. My weakness point is on data and airtime. It's killing my budget. Well, we hope you improve after today, Wanda. Thank you so much. Vaughan says, is it Vaughan or Vaughan, saying that was phenomenal. I'm inspired. Thank you. Thank you. That's great information. The radio conversation yesterday on Gagazi FM was so enlightening. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Tando Letru. Thank you for that feedback. Andrew says, thanks, Darren, for such an awesome host today. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I take it. I'll take those compliments. Guys, you guys need to vote, eh? Stop typing in the chat and listening to me. Vote and complete the poll. So far, only 11 people have completed the poll. You need to complete it. There are 8 questions, so scroll all the way down to the bottom. Make sure you answer every question, please. If you're experiencing any challenges, like you can't see the poll, just let us know. But from what I see now, everybody should be able to see the poll and everybody should be voting. So I'm going to be quiet and allow you to vote. There are 8 questions. Choose an answer for each one and then click submit. There we go. Now more people are voting. There's about 20 or 30 of you that are still not voting. So if you can just check nicely. Arisha says she can't see the poll. Somebody can just assist her. Are we having another session next week? Absolutely. Put it in your diary. Make sure you save the date. Voting's going well, but there's still quite a few of you that need to vote. So guys, just check for the poll. It should be up on your screen. There are 8 questions. Make sure that you've completed every one of them before you click submit. I'm keeping it open for 1 more minute. Diketseng says, is my vote in? I don't know. Your vote is your secret, Diketseng. I'm kidding. I'm sure if you've clicked submit, then it's in. All right. All right. The poll is closed. All right, so the poll is closed. Thank you so much to everybody for sharing for voting and for casting your votes. Absolutely amazing. Guys, I'm going to put up the details one more time, just because I really want to encourage you to connect with us on all of these platforms, as I mentioned earlier on. And so that's the Facebook group, the Facebook page. Remember, it's a closed Facebook page. So please do whatever you can to go and join, like that group. And there's so much information. That is ASISA Foundation L+EARN. If you search for it on Facebook, you'll be able to join that group. Then the website, that's the most important as well. At the bottom of the screen right now, you'll see there www.l+earn.org.za or www.asisafoundation.org.za. If you look up in the chat, you will see comments by Clearway. She would have posted the link to the budgeting tool. Please, please, please download the budgeting tool. It is absolutely going to help you. And remember to join us next week at the same time for a different webinar. We're going to be talking about something just as interesting next week. And I'm sure that every single week you are going to feel more and more and more empowered. And so we're going to try and get to some of your questions that we weren't able to get to today. But from my side, I think we have covered almost everything. I think all that's left for me to say is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being part of today's webinar. And I'm quickly going to ask Zanele and Khomotso to put their screens back up so that we can see them one more time on their videos and get them to say goodbye. So 30 seconds each, everybody, with a tip for the week. Let's start with you, Zanele. What is your tip for the week to everybody on the webinar today?
First, Black Friday
Zanele,
is around the corner.
Go for it.
Am I laudable? I can say that Black Friday is around the corner. Do not be scammed. There's always sales in the stores. So if you can go to Edgar's today, there's a sale. If you can go on the 17th, there's a sale, and they will tell you that on Black Friday is a sale. So guys, be careful. Don't spend money because of people are spending money. Spend money wisely, but budget for what you need. Because of they are using the term Black Friday, but then if you go buy something during Black Friday and then go next year, check the price. It's the price that you bought for on Black Friday.
Thank you, Zanele. Thank you so much. Great tip. And Khomotso, final words from you, a tip for the week to all of our attendees today.
First, Darren, on the credit side, getting debt, if you want to get into debt, make sure that you are able to service it. Yes, there is such a thing called good debt. It can be bad if you do not pay it right, but also if you buy fancy clothes on debt instead of what you need, that is bad debt. So you need to make sure you've got your priorities right, firstly. Secondly, your hobby can get you that extra income. Don't get lazy. If you are able to bake, you must bake and start selling those scones, be it at the office, be it at the campus. Get that extra money, that extra hobby. It's going to be able to get you far. You can start getting big orders, all right? The last thing is that I saw one of the questions, they're talking about a couple considering to either have a shared business account. This I'm going to put on my financial planning hat here. Now, when we do what we call estate planning, or let's say a person passes away, what happens is the deceased person's account, bank account, they get frozen. All of their assets, they freeze. Now imagine if you've got 100,000 Rand, which is what you live on a daily basis, and then your partner, something happens to them, unfortunately they pass on, and then their bank account is frozen, how will you survive? So think about that before doing it. Get proper advice. And yeah, yeah, thanks very much for the time, for the learnings as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Khomotso. A couple of comments from Fezzi. We're saying you inspire me, Zanele. Somebody else here saying thank you so much, Zanele and Khomotso. Continue doing a great job. Again, guys, just a reminder, the recording of this webinar will be available on the l+earn.org.za website. And next week we are discussing credit, okay? Next week we're discussing credit. So you want to do whatever you need to do to make sure you're available, minimize distractions, and make sure you are able to attend next week's session. It is going to be lit, all right? We're going to be talking about credit and you're going to learn so much. From my side, I want to encourage you to have a great week. Continue to put your financial needs above your wants. Remember to prioritize. Remember to track your spending. Don't go shopping with an empty stomach like we learned. Don't fall prey to all of those sales. And if you didn't budget for it, don't spend on it. Have a great week. My name is Darren August. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host on the webinar today. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.